Maya Chen was just another face in the crowd at a Chicago megastore. By the time she walked out, she had stolen $15,000 worth of electronics without ever touching a single product. Across the country, Dev Malik, a former cybersecurity analyst, watched her every move from an underground server farm. Together, they were part of Phantom Cartel, a silent, tech-savvy crime ring that outsmarted billion-dollar surveillance systems. But what they didn't know was that the AI watching them was learning and waiting to strike back. In early 2025, a strange pattern began to emerge inside America's biggest retail stores. While surveillance tracked customer movement, the AI often filtered out what it considered typical shopper behavior. With just a few lines of code, they could mark items as sold or in transit, erasing digital evidence before anyone noticed. Without alerting law enforcement, the retail conglomerate formed an elite internal task force made up of cybersecurity experts, former intelligence officers, and private investigators. Their mission: follow the data trail and shut it down before it collapsed public trust in the brand. The merchandise, often high-demand electronics and luxury goods, vanished without a trace. One tracker ended up in a storage unit in Nevada. There were rows of servers, charts of store layouts across the country, AI prediction models, and detailed psychological profiles of store employees. The cartel had used machine learning to predict shift changes, identify inattentive security guards, and even monitor which managers ignored inventory alerts. This wasn't stealing, it was warfare. Another surfaced in a warehouse in Queens. The operation was hailed as a turning point in corporate crime fighting. But not everything was recovered. Over $20 million worth of stolen goods had already been funneled through encrypted crypto markets and digital resale sites that vanished overnight. As they followed the breadcrumbs, a chilling realization set in. This wasn't just a retail crime. It was an underground logistics empire, mirroring legitimate supply chains. When analysts ran deeper scans on the cartel's internal network, they discovered fragments of code nearly identical to the AI used by the retailers themselves. Somehow the criminals had gained access to proprietary surveillance software and used it to train their own systems to bypass it. The cartel had figured out how to mimic these behaviors, pausing at end caps, checking price tags, looping through aisles, all to manipulate the AI into thinking they were harmless. Retail giants may have fought back, but they had been up against a mirror image of their own machine. And the real question that still haunts the retail world today? If the AI couldn't fully stop them, what else is already hiding inside the system? At first glance, they were just typical shoplifting incidents, small items disappearing from shelves, barcodes tampered with, self-checkout stations manipulated. But behind the scenes, something far more organized was unfolding. It all started with a quiet alarm at a massive Midwest distribution center for a retail giant, one of those sprawling maze stores. At 2:47 p.m. on a rainy Thursday in Seattle, one of them captured what they had been waiting for, a runner transferring merchandise to a nondescript van. The van's plates were fake. The AI cross-referenced streetlight footage and tracked its path back to a warehouse disguised as a tech startup. An AI-powered surveillance system flagged a minor inconsistency. A pallet of high-end electronics was marked as shipped, but never left the facility. Most would brush it off as clerical error. It began linking facial data from various thefts using thermal pattern recognition, scanning heat signatures on faces rather than surface features, bypassing the disguises used by runners. One common signature appeared in 5 different cities. The task force zeroed in, but the AI didn't forget. 2 weeks later, another signal was triggered, this time at a different location across the country. Unknown to the public, major retailers had spent billions upgrading their internal security with next-generation surveillance technology, facial recognition, thermal tracking, behavioral pattern analysis. They could now monitor every square foot of every store in real time. They recruited individuals with no criminal records, mostly gig workers and struggling students, to carry out the actual thefts. These runners were provided with detailed instructions, encrypted communication apps, and specially modified shopping carts outfitted with jammers to confuse RFID systems. What they discovered wasn't petty theft. It was a nationwide crime ring, deeply embedded, extremely disciplined, and shockingly innovative. The ring, later codenamed Phantom Cartel, operated with military precision. Each heist followed a tight timeline. Runners would enter a store during peak hours to blend in with crowds. Meanwhile, back-end systems were being hacked. Using malware-laced job applications submitted through corporate hiring portals, the cartel accessed internal networks, but the retailers weren't passive victims. Once the AI flagged the anomalies, a counter-operation was quietly launched. For months, the task force worked in secret. They used bait shipments, fake deliveries loaded with microscopic GPS trackers and embedded sensors that could withstand jamming. By April, the surveillance AI made a breakthrough. Surveillance drones were deployed at selected stores without public knowledge. When the task force raided the building, they didn't just find stolen merchandise. In the end, 63 people were arrested in coordinated operations across 11 states. Perhaps the most disturbing twist came months later. In 2025, the line between theft and tech innovation blurred in ways no one had imagined.